If you've ever had a migraine, you know it is a completely overwhelming experience. The lights become blinding, the background noise sounds deafening, and a relentless pounding takes over. For most of the 20th century, the medical establishment thought they understood exactly what was causing this misery. They believed migraines were essentially a plumbing problem, specifically that blood vessels inside the skull were swelling up and painfully pressing against surrounding brain tissue. The logic seemed sound at the time. Because the intense pain of a migraine throbs in perfect rhythm with the patient's heartbeat, doctors assumed that pulsing, expanding blood vessels had to be the culprit. But experiments proved that theory wrong. When researchers used medications to intentionally force massive blood vessel dilation in patients, it didn't trigger a migraine. Even more telling, scans of patients in the middle of severe attacks often showed no vessel swelling at all. If swollen blood vessels aren't the source of that agonizing throbbing, the true cause has to lie much deeper. The problem actually stems from a flaw deep within the brain's neural architecture. A migraine is a complex sensory processing disorder, and its roots are written directly into a patient's DNA. The disease originates with mutations in microscopic gateways called ion channels. Misfiring makes the neurons hyperexcitable, letting a flood of charged particles slip through the cell membrane. This agitated cell passes chaotic signals to its neighbors, setting the stage for an electrical chain reaction. Scientists call this reaction cortical spreading depression, a slow, rolling wave of electrical activity that creeps steadily across the folded surface of the brain. The wave itself doesn't hurt. Instead, it creates what's known as the aura, the bizarre visual blind spots, flashing lights, and facial tingling that about 30% of sufferers experience right before the pain actually hits. But as this wave sweeps across the cortex, it eventually crashes into the trigeminal nerve system, which acts as the primary pain receptor network for the head and face. The combination of that creeping electrical wave and the sudden activation of the trigeminal nerves triggers a blaring internal alarm system. That alarm travels downward, ultimately overwhelming the brain's main control center. Usually, the lower brain acts like a bouncer, running a highly efficient sensory filter that blocks out harmless background noise. But during an attack, this system experiences dishabituation, a complete breakdown of that filter. The brain suddenly loses its ability to ignore normal, repetitive stimuli. The immediate consequence of this breakdown is chaos. The brainstem entirely loses its capacity to regulate incoming signals from the nervous system. This explains the patient's sudden, extreme sensitivity. Without a working filter, the ambient light in a normal room or the faint sound of a door closing registers in the upper brain as an overwhelming, painful threat. This also solves the mystery of the throbbing head. The pounding isn't caused by swollen blood vessels. It is simply the quiet, normal pulse of the patient's own blood flowing through their head, slipping past a broken brainstem filter and triggering a severe pain response. A migraine is the exhausting reality of a brain temporarily forced to feel every single ordinary sensation at maximum volume, all at once. This total filter failure perfectly explains one of the most bizarre symptoms of the condition, allodynia. This is when a gentle, everyday touch, like resting your head on a pillow or brushing your hair, becomes physically agonizing. We can see the shift from porning to perception most clearly in the way we now treat the disease. The newest and most highly effective acute migraine treatments, drugs like triptans and CGRP receptor antagonists, do not constrict blood vessels at all. Instead of targeting the circulatory system, these modern medications work directly on the brain's neural pathways. They calm down hyperexcitable nerves and help reboot the brainstem's broken filter. Reframing migraine as sensory overload allows for highly targeted medications that address the root cause, finally validating the invisible reality of millions of sufferers.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like this video and share it with your friends. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button.